I think it's time to do an honest review of ICP. I see a lot of information out there, some correct out there, some not so correct out there. And I think it's time that somebody actually took it head on and did a correct review of this thing. I did an honest review of ICP about 10 months ago, but a lot has changed. What are my feelings of ICP? Well, I own a lot more of it since that video. I was waiting for it to bottom out. I thought a lot of people were pumping ICP back then. Well, really only Jerry Banfield was. And it was crashing. And I was like, just chill, wait. You have this big problem ICP, which is right here. Max supply, infinite problem. Circulating supply was going up quickly. I said, you can probably wait, which is what I did. And I actually started buying it at the lows. I actually changed my mind at the lows. I was like, $3 looks like it. I started buying. I bought all the way to about $5, and then it ripped all the way to $20. Probably should have sold. But I owned about around this time, I think I owned about 4,000 or so. Now, since then, I bought more. I bought this dip. I added another 1,000 here, and I added another 1,000 a little bit higher price point. But what I want to do is give you guys, and I have about 7,000 now, which is pretty insane. But what I wanted to do is give you guys my honest feelings of it, because a lot of people aren't really covering it correctly. There's a lot of people saying, well, the project doesn't have enough users, doesn't have enough this, doesn't have enough that. And other people are like, oh, don't measure it like this, measure it like that, measure it like this. But let's go over the facts. Yes. ICP's tokenomics are not the best, but if you compare them to other tokens, so you're seeing right here, 521 is a total supply with a max supply. Tokenomics are the #1 indicator of how well a project does. I know, crazy. Who would have thought supply and demand would be the biggest problem with any token, right? But let's just look at Solana, which has gone from basically $8 to $100 or $10 to $186. While it has even more token, and it also has infinite supply, even more daily distribution inflation than ICP. So it is possible for a token to go flying high, even with high inflation. And the reason that is because the demand on that token from the users out there, and then the meme coins and the the whole ecosystem around Solana is just so much bigger. Right. And I'll also look at the daily trading volume. This is very important. 4 billion a day. This is important when you have such a huge pool, so much trading every day, $3-4 billion a day. Look at the volume on this. 4 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion. This is the daily trade, 14 billion. Oh my God. When you have so much volume, that means most of the people are probably going to be buying. They need it for some reason or another, right? To put in a liquidity pool, do this, to add it to this, add it to that, DeFi, whatever. And that's why Solana went up so much. Now, if the volume of Solana starts to go down, look back here, 148 million when it was at $19, okay? 300 million, 100 million, okay? It couldn't soak up all that supply. So you had a token that was kind of dead. Volume is the #1 indicator for a lot of stuff. Okay. Tokenomics also helps. Those are the two main indicators that I look at. And you can see that across the board on a lot of these tokens. You can look at BNB, 600 million. You can look at XRP, over $1 billion. You can kind of see that if you look at Ethereum, 13 billion in the time. When you look at Ethereum and Bitcoin, the volumes are just so much bigger, but Solana is getting there. And there's a reason why Solana's price is so high. Now, when we go down, and even Avax, which has run up from around $8 to $28 right now, and went all the way to $50, had daily volumes in the billions of dollars, not multi-billions, usually 1 or 2 billion, or a couple hundred million. Right now, it did about 400 million in the last 24 hours. But when you look at ICP, it didn't even break 100 million. So that is the #1 issue at hand. There's not enough volume, liquidity behind ICP. Also, that hurts when whales come in. Yes, whales come in, they push the price up, which is kind of what happened here. So you got to understand what's going to end up happening with ICP is the price is going to fly higher if institutions and whales get involved. And you kind of saw that right here. You basically went to 10 to 20 quickly. And the reason you did that was because look at the volume. It went from, you can kind of see it, around 100 to 200 million, all the way to like 400, 500 million. Oh, it's went all the way 700 million. So you can see what happens when the volume kicks in. So I'm not totally afraid of the fact that ICP is inflating every day and it has a max supply. We're going to a bull run. If we weren't going to bull run, I would be worried. I'm not as worried right now. Now, this is the other thing that we have to start looking at. What is staked in ICP, which plays a role. Okay, you can go to ICP, the Internet Computer, their dashboard to get all this great information. So this is interesting. So when I look at this compared to other tokens, I start to realize 46% of all of ICP is staked. 240 million ICP. So really, when I'm looking at this number, we're looking at this 467, and it is expanding. We're going to go through here and we're going to show you it is expanding, but slowly, only about 2.3 million every 30 days. I'm going to get to here too. This is very interesting. And it's something that is coming to an end, but not right away. So we got to look at the stuff and really like start to understand it. And I'm going to give you my feelings of where I think ICP is going based on the data, not hopes and dreams. And well, there's always hopes and dreams. This is crypto, but not necessarily like it's the best technology, it's going to win. No, usually best technology doesn't win. But let's look at it. Let's look at it from an objective standpoint. You got 240 million tokens. 201 million of them are basically not dissolving, meaning they're going to need anywhere from, it should be 6 months to a year. 6 months to a year to open up on the shortest and up to 8 years on the longest. And this is what I also noticed. If you look here, 100 and you can see the number on the top, 8 years, 132 million a year ago. Now 139, almost 140 million has been staked. So the number of ICP being staked over a longer period of times, I looked at the 7 year to 8 years, 6 to 7 year, 5 to, and then the 4 to 5 year long terms are increasing. What has decreased is the people that are staked on the shorter time. So those people were dissolving, and dissolve delay means you click dissolve and you get access to your tokens in a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 8 years from now, depending on how many years you had selected or months you had selected. So this is all very interesting. So I'm seeing the long-term holders increase, the short-term holders decrease. So it's becoming more healthy. There's only, if you look down here, about 14 million tokens and 22 million tokens, 14 million and 22 million tokens between the 0 to 6 month and the 6 to 12 months period. And out of those, you've got to come to here, dissolving. How many are dissolving? You got 0 to 1 year, 20 million of them are dissolving. So most of that's going to actually be gone. So these people are probably a little bit paper hands, but I'm also in there, by the way. And I have some that are dissolving. I have some that are not dissolving. So I'm not necessarily paper hands because I haven't sold any ICP. I'm holding it. So understand that, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it gives you an idea that about another 20 million tokens could hit the market from these people. But these people have been holding for a year. I doubt they'll really sell. These are good people. They're not really going to do anything. This is the number I'm impressed with, 46% of the supply. And to be honest with you, it's just impressive that how much of the supply is. I mean, you had 255 million a year ago in total staked. Now you have 240 million, but more of it is going long-term, meaning this stuff, 8 years is a ridiculous amount of time. Can't even access it. 140 million of the tokens almost is 8 years, which is insane. Basically, if you want to take the 140 million plus another, I don't know, let's say another 20 million from these other guys, maybe 20, 30 million, you got basically like 170 million tokens that are never going to hit the market. You basically only have like 300 million tokens realistically out there of ICP. And this is where liquidity becomes an issue, where there's a lot of buying, pushes the price up so much. And that's why you saw this happen, where it exploded. When you get a lot of buying or institutions into ICP, it has the potential to run. Now, let's look at ICP as a whole, because a lot of people say ICP, it doesn't have DeFi, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. It is slowly there, but also ICP doesn't need all of that. Even though the ICP is growing, there is DeFi on it, it is growing. It doesn't necessarily need it, because the canisters and the transactions are what is the most important thing on ICP. That is something that you guys have to start to understand. The most important thing on ICP is not how well the D apps are doing and all this stuff that you kind of compare to other here we can go to subnets where we compare to other projects, So let's look at, this is also very interesting. You can start looking here at data centers and then node providers. By the way, these node providers, node machines, each of these costs about $10,000. I was looking at this other guy who was doing a whole presentation on it, what it costs, because he started a node, costs about $10,000. It costs a couple $100 a month to run, but the rewards are huge. So you can make thousands of dollars a month, and the nodes get paid a set amount of ICP, which also means inflation goes down, higher the price of ICP, because they're getting paid in the USD, basically a dollar value, not the ICP value. So you can see, some of these guys have like 14 node machines. They've made huge investments in the ICP infrastructure, node machines. It has 559, which has stayed relatively consistent. And you want to have more node machines over time because you're going to want to scale this, especially with AI and all of this stuff. And the great thing with ICP is they're basically getting other people to scale it for them. And there's a lot of profit in it right now. If you're scaling the ICP network, you're basically being paid very, very well. Now, all right, let's look at the dashboard. Chain key Bitcoin, chain key Ethereum. Well, why is this important? Well, you don't need bridges anymore to do this. And this is slowly going up. You can see it went to 240 and then it went to 280 Bitcoin. Now it's gone down to 227. What is that worth? How much Bitcoin has realistically come over that you can assign a value to it? Okay, almost $16 million. It's not small. It's not huge, but it's gaining more traction. And it's chain key is you don't need a bridge anymore. It's great. And the same thing with Ethereum. You can kind of see the adoption is going up. Let's see. You got the million neuron funds. All right. What else we got to look at? I want to look at this one, total burn, because all the fees from ICP get burned. So there's a lot of misconceptions about this. A lot of people are like, well, all the fees got burned, but the fees are very small. So it takes a lot of transactions to burn all the ICP. And that is a little bit of an issue, right? So you can kind of see cycle burn rates here. You start to see an increase. All right, let's look at circulating supply. So when you look at circulating supply, it becomes very interesting what's going on. Node provider rewards. These are the node providers that are being paid. Now, if you look right here, you can see how much they're getting paid. In August of 2023, they were paid 583,000 ICP. So far, 7 million ICP have given out. The price was lower back here. Thus, there was more ICP being handed out. And as you can see, 700,000, 800,000, 600,000, and then 500,000 ICP were handed out all the way to December of 2023. And then you see a drop. Only 200,000, 243,000, 224,000, 197,000 ICP were handed out by the time you got to January, February, March, April. Is that April? April 2024. So why less? Well, because the price of ICP went up and they're being paid in basically the USD equivalent of ICP. So you basically lowered your inflation from 852,000 within 6 months to the low of 197,000. You basically lowered your inflation from the node providers by 75%. You're only using up 25% of the amount of rewards. So that helps. So we have to understand having a higher price of ICP really helps. Now, the price of ICP came down recently. So now we're back up to 392,000 in this latest month, which was June. I assume we're probably going to be around 300,000 to 400,000, maybe a little bit lower than 300,000, just because the price has gone up again. So as the price of the ICP goes to 20, 30, 40, or $50, the inflation rate actually starts to decrease from the node providers. And probably more node providers will want to come online because they are being paid in ICP, which is becoming a very valuable asset. So these are positives. Now, the total burned also, I've been trying to figure this out a little bit. It's a little bit interesting because, okay, let's look at the total burn. Okay, you got the fees, you got the ICP transactions, and you got the total. Look at the transaction number. When it first started, there were basically very few transactions, right? A couple hundred transactions, went to 105,000 transactions, and then now we're at 168,000 transactions a day. But it says the fee is 1,224 ICP like a couple days ago, the 21st of July. However, it doesn't quite correlate towards the burn rate. So I haven't quite figured it out exactly. Like the number of ICP is kind of still the same. Goes up a little bit because if you did 168,000 transactions in a day in ICP, it would only burn really 16.8 ICP. Not a lot of ICP, right? You need millions of transactions, probably 9-10 million a day, which it's slowly getting there. As you can see, it's ramping up. Now, this is where it gets interesting. There are other fees. You can kind of see right here. You can see rejected proposal gets rejected, incurs a 10 ICP rejection fee. So some of those fees could be in here, and there's a lot of proposals. So, I'm not quite sure about the burn rate, and I'm not sure the burn rate will ever be quite enough to kind of make up for the inflation, the amount of daily transactions would have to be obscene, number one, which, yes, it is getting there. If you think about it, if you look at this year, it's gone from 121,000 transactions a day to about 170,000 168, 69,000 transactions. If you look at longer time periods, obviously gone up even more. Can this hit 1 million transactions sometime next year a day? Yes, absolutely. Can it hit 2 or 3 million, 4 million, 5 million? Yes, it can. This thing can. And then obviously those fees get taken out and a lot of good things start to happen. But I'm not counting on the ICP burn, to be very honest with you. I'm counting on the price of ICP going up so that it can help with lowering of the inflation. Okay. So the inflation, you got to understand, is a very good indicator how well a token will do. And you haven't had that much inflation in a year. You've got your circulating supply has gone from about 500 million tokens in a year to 521 million. I mean, it's probably better than 95% of most tokens, by the way. So would I like this to be better? Yes. Would I like their tokenomics to be better? Yes. But we're hoping that demand and adoption drives it. That's what we're hoping for. Are we getting there? Yes. Are we getting there fast? No. It's slow-ish, not slow, but it's not fast. Do I think it's going to speed up? I think it's going to dramatically speed up. It looks like Definity and Dom are working to speed it up, but these things take time. This is a revolutionary protocol. It's a third generation blockchain. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is speeding up, and I'm seeing that momentum pick up. That momentum is picking up, and you want that momentum to pick up because it's going to lower our inflation. The best way to control inflation in ICP is with a high ICP price, because the node rewards will fall from 400,000 a month, probably 50,000 a month, 30,000, probably nothing. And that's what you want. You want it to go very low. And then the last part of the inflation that's hurting them is these seed and private sale investors, which, again, I don't understand Dom and the team, why they gave away the farm. I mean, they basically, the valuation they gave these people, some of these people bought from as low as 3 cents to, like, I think $3. They're most of the time, these seed and private sale guys are probably going to sell. Most of the time, a lot of them have locked up because they couldn't sell. But there's a little bit more liquidity now. But again, $21 million coming into the market when you got $100 million a day. They can't really sell right away. So they might sell a little bit there. But from what I'm seeing, a lot of them are staking. Some of them are selling. And, you know, the distribution of the token is getting better. Now, how much more of this do we have left? Well, the good news is we only have until next year, June, only 316 more days of this inflation. And then this inflation is gone. This could be right in the middle of the bull run, by basically, like, hardcore in the middle of it. This is where what people are expecting. And, you know, if it runs a little bit longer, ICP's inflation basically comes under control. Also, depending on the price of ICP, if the price of ICP is, let's say, $30 or $40 or $50, well, your node rewards go way down. So your inflation is actually going to be very little. Yes, there's also the staking rewards, but, you know, the staking rewards, it's not too crazy or out of line, but there's staking rewards and there's no rewards. It's not enormous. It's not insurmountable, but this basically 2.3 million tokens a month that hits on every, well, it used to be every 10th. Looks like it's every 11th now. Every 11th of the month, you know, it's not insurmountable. Okay. It's basically done. There's another, looks like 26 million tokens that are going to hit at the 11th of this month, which is only 12 days away. You'll be under 24 million. So you're going to be in the next few months below 20 million more come in. It's nothing crazy. Do I wish these unlocks weren't there? Do I wish they would have been smarter? Do I wish they would have done things a little different? Do I wish their tokenomics were a little bit better? Yes, I do. But is this the end of the world? No, it's not. All these other unlocks have already happened. I think this might sound crazy, but I think this sets ICP up, not necessarily for this bull run, but for the next bull run to be absolutely explosive, because I think they need the time and they are getting there slowly. But I think they are, I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's ICP is going to go to 500, 600, 700, 1,000. I think it's probably going to happen in the next bull run, not this one, because the tokenomics by the next bull run will be better. And yes, the next bull run might not be around till, I don't know, 2027, 2028. We don't know how these cycles go. Maybe 2029, could be 2026, could be 2027. I don't know. So this is the thing. Keep your eye always on ICP, because there is a potential that this is the next kind of Solana Ethereum thing. So where your tokenomics improves dramatically is going to be down here, June of 2025, right after it, June 11th, because there are no more token unlocks. And hopefully if the price is over the $30 or $40, the node rewards are really down. Tokenomics become incredible. And then hopefully the adoption rate spikes. And that's about a year from now. Hopefully your 160, 170,000 transactions a day becomes 5 million a day, 3 million a day, 10 million a day. And then you burn more. That is the idea. And then the dApps take off and everything takes off. People understand that ICP is a next generation blockchain. And then you're off to the races. Whether that can happen in 2025, I'm not sure. Maybe it happens in 2026, 2027. We don't know. But that is kind of where I'm looking at. Now, as far as the price, a lot of people look at price. I see a lot of weakness in ICP because I've never been able to see the volume. Kind of like when you get great volume with ICP, it does explode. Absolutely explodes, right? Institutional investors, all these people need to come in, which I believe they will come in. It is still, it's still a top 30 cryptocurrency, but it's a little bit higher than that because you got, stables in here and some other. I think it's like if you take out the stables, the wrap big, it's like number 22 or 23 or something like that. So can it break into the top 20? I definitely think it can. I think there is a case to be made here that internet computer is definitely a very undervalued asset, especially at $4.2 billion. When you start comparing it to projects above it like Caspa, which has even less volume on a daily basis, 56 million. And you look at Polygon, which is basically, Polygon. I don't think Polygon's going to do very well. It's just a layer 2. Internet computer has way more. Pepe, Wrapped. If you look right here, where is it that you can actually say, when you look above it, and you compare it to, ICP to these other tokens, which token can you say, well, they have something that ICP doesn't? Really, you don't really get there till Avax, which is at 10.8 billion. And the reason I say Avax is because Avax is such a huge ecosystem. ICP doesn't have that ecosystem. And that ecosystem we've seen with Solana is worth a lot of money per users, activity, demand, and you can see obviously the Avax has 381 million a day and it has billions of dollars a day. So it has a lot more demand coming through it, even though Avax is terrible tokenomics, worse than ICP. So when I say don't be afraid of ICP's tokenomics, most of the tokens above it have even worse. Polkadot inflates about 10% a year. Chainlink, same thing, 10% a year. These are far worse. I wouldn't be caught dead owning Chainlink or Polkadot. Avalanche isn't great, but I do own it just because the ecosystem is big. And I've also been able to pick up Avax at the right prices. So you got to know what you're doing. But I wouldn't be buying a lot of these other tokens because the tokenomics are terrible. Polygon has no demand on it. Nobody really cares about it. Tokenomics aren't terrible, but nobody really seems to want it. Foundation sells, but that creates a problem. When you start to look up, can it do what Tron does? Yes. Can it do what Cardano? Yes. And way more than Cardano. Toncoin, because it's tied to Telegram, is getting a lot more hype. That's worth 16.8 billion, but the tokenomics on Toncoin are absolutely horrific. Okay. There's another 2.5 billion tokens ready to come out. The max supply is also infinite. Okay. Toncoin is getting a lot of hype right now, but let me tell you something. When the hype dies down on Toncoin, good luck. Good luck. You will need Jesus. You will need everything to save you. It will be absolutely horrific. Let's look at Toncoin. Let's just bring it up. Let's bring up what that looks like. And I like Toncoin. I like it. I think it's great, but let's see if we can look at the vesting schedule. Does it have it here? Oh, I don't see it here. I might have to look up the vesting schedule somewhere else. So there is no vesting schedule on this page, but I'm pretty sure if I find the vesting schedule, which I'll look up later on, it is probably going to give me a big scare. That is just reality of it. There's just too many tokens about to get unleashed. And you can kind of see that playing out. And you're like, why are you being so critical of tokens? Well, look at Arbitrum. Arbitrum has 10 billion tokens, 3.3 have only been released. And if you look at the max of Arbitrum, it went from, this is when it came out around $1 and it went down about 78 cents, and then it went up to about $2.50. We're back down. We're back down below 70 cents. Now, what is crazy about it is it's now reaching all-time lows, while everything else like Bitcoin and Ethereum are basically getting multi-year highs, and moving in the right direction. So yes, even though Arbitrum is a great project, the tokenomics have absolutely devastated it and will continue to devastate it. In fact, I will be a shorter of Arbitrum on any rallies. When Arbitrum goes to $2 and $3 next time, and it could easily go during the bull run, everything goes, right? I'm going to be shorting it on like 3-4x leverage, because it's eventually going to go back down. You just can't handle the weight of all those tokens opening up. And of course, you got to go here, you got to do your research, because they might not be opening up right away, because we don't know. Let's put in ARB. Let's see when ARB is going to have its vesting schedule is here. Thank goodness. So we can take a look at it. So look, you got unlocks happening. I mean, how many unlocks you got? Looks like every 17th day, 16th day of every month, you have unlocks happening. ARB, how much you got? 65 million. So remember, ICP had 21 million a month. Well, ARB, even at the depressed price, is 65 million a month. That's 3 times the amount per month coming into it every month. That's not good. That's not good, and it's got it coming for years. It doesn't end. I mean, oh my God, 2026, 2027. Oh, I mean, it just keeps going. 2027. It's got it coming literally forever. And the price of ARB goes up, let's say it doubles or triples. Well, this thing doesn't become 65 million anymore. This becomes 130 million, 100, 200 million a month. Well, that eventually will put pressure on the token. It always does. It's inflation. We talk about inflation in the US dollar. Well, let's start talking about inflation in tokens, okay? So you can kind of see that. And then also, what is to stop some of these other investors, the DAO, Treasury, the team and advisors, from also selling? They also get their own unlocks, as you can see. You can see X amount has been locked, and they're going to get their own unlock. So on top of all that, you got other people that are going to be dumping on you, right over you, right on you. So ARB to me looks horrific. Arbitrum, only 25% of the tokens have even been released. Arbitrum is going to suffer the same fate. As you can see, it already has. Went all the way to almost over $4.50, and you went down to about $1 something. Optimism is going to, it's going to have the same fate. It's just a reality. So you got to be careful when you're looking at the tokenomics of these things. Don't buy in these high inflation tokens. You're just enriching early investors. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything else. You're better off buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB. Those have the best tokenomics, probably. And BNB has the best tokenomics out of everything, and the best ecosystems and everything. Solana I left out because tokenomics suck, but Solana, because of its size and scale, its ecosystem is doing well right now. But that's it's fine to buy. It's probably going to go a lot higher realistically. But as far as ICP goes, everything counts on adoption, is what I'm saying. I'm saying this from the beginning. Yes, don't fall for the hype machine. Put all your life savings in ICP. Jerry Banfield tells people to put their life in. It's the best crypto, blah, blah, blah. You need to have a diversity. You need to own, definitely the easy money is Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is the easy money. Outside of that, you got Solana, BNB, Avax. I don't touch Cardano. I don't touch XRP. XRP has crazy inflation too. I don't touch these crazy inflation tokens besides Avax, because Avax is a layer 1 and it burns the fees. So Avax actually burns quite a lot of the fees. So there's Avax ecosystem, if it explodes, will actually lower the supply actually pretty considerably. So there is hope in Avax long term, but yes, it can be tumultuous. I don't put that much in Avax. But besides that, I don't really see anything that comes close to ICP. ICP, in my opinion, you're probably looking, we're definitely going to go back up to the 20s and 30s. I think this bull run, realistically, depending on the adoption, depending on the AI narratives, we're probably looking between, I would say, a $50 to $80 price range. Now, keep in mind, depending on what happens and what they do and the adoption rate, these numbers can be blown way out the water into the hundreds of dollars. But I think if we're being realistic, that's where we're going to end up. And I was buying the dip at $7 and $8, $6, $6 and $7, because, that's almost a 10x if we hit 50. Yes, I will be a seller. At that point, I only have about a thousand staked. So those I won't be able to sell, but the rest I will be. And I'll wait for it to dip because inevitably after this crazy pump, things will happen. And then next bull run, hopefully when I come back and talk about ICP, I will have 15 or 20,000 ICP. And then at that point, adoption takes off, especially with Utopia taking off, which is their private network. Maybe we get into the $300, $400, $500 and people realize that ICP is the real deal and goes into the thousands. Now, all this counts on adoption, and they are doing a very good job of adoption. It's just not happening fast enough for people because it's a real world company. Understand that ICP is a real world company. It's a real world project. It's not one of these fly by night meme coins. You have to start to understand that. Once you start to understand that, forget your timeline. I want to buy at $9 and I want to sell at $90 in a month. That's not going to happen with ICP. ICP will take its time. There will be a lot of people on the way that will be selling. There will be a lot of buy pressure, a lot of sell pressure at different times. It'll be very, very volatile. You could probably trade it on these pumps. Realistically, you might want to. I've changed my mentality on it myself. I'm actually going to consider selling next time, at least a couple thousand when I see these pumps, try to come back and buy it at a lower price. So I'm going to start playing a little bit of a game, and that's why I bought more, because I think it's a relatively great reward, risk to reward ratio compared to everything else out there. And I think ICP is, once it gets noticed as the next generation blockchain, and I don't know if that's going to happen before 2024 or before 2025. I don't know. What it will happen at some point. Once that gets realized, ICP's price will not stop. It will just be a straight moonshot. Okay, so you got to be careful of that event too. And it's going to have a Solana event, and we saw that with Solana. ICP is going to have that event too. And I look at this as a comparison of what can and will happen. Hopefully it will happen. And this is what I think can happen to ICP also. And they have basically the same amount of tokens. As you can see, circulating supply is very similar to ICP's. So you can see the market cap gets into about $80 billion. I think ICP can do it. And I think ICP, once people figure it out, will be way bigger than Solana. It won't even be funny. It will be just way bigger because its applications are real in the real world and enterprise levels and governments. It's whole next level. So anyway, guys, hopefully that was helpful. I gave you the good. I gave you the bad. You know, as far as the risk goes at $9, yeah, you could go to 7 or 6, but I think that's kind of it. I think your upside is way higher than the downside. I don't really see too many tokens out there that have the same risk reward ratio. I think if you buy Solana or some of these other tokens, you're taking on way more risk and you're probably going to get a lesser reward. With ICP, I feel like you're kind of in that sweet spot where you're going to get, if adoption takes off and things happen, you're going to get a big reward, but your risk is, yeah, you could lose 30, 40% of your investment. But I think with some of these other tokens, you can probably lose, as you've seen, 60, 70, 80% of your investment, which is quite normal in crypto. Anyway, guys, best of luck.